Hello and welcome to the AT Center at TCNJ. This webinar series is facilitated by the Inclusive 365 team and focuses on inclusive practices. The Inclusive 365 team specializes in helping organizations create more inclusive educational environments. They are known for the book Inclusive Learning 365, EdTech Strategies for Every Day of the Year, and provide services to organizations such as book studies, webinars, and consultation to help educators develop and implement inclusive strategies. The team consists of 4 professionals: Christopher Bugay, Karen Jankowski, Beth Poss, and Mike Murata. Join them as they introduce practical strategies you can implement immediately in your environment to promote inclusive practices. This is Module 3, Inclusive Strategies for Reading. These webinars are made possible through our partnership with the New Jersey Department of Education, Office of Special Education. The statements issued by guest presenters do not reflect the stance of the NJDOE OSE. Please use your professional judgment when implementing strategies and resources within your practice. Let's listen to the Inclusive 365 team.
Hey, Chris, how's it going?
All right, Karen, how you doing?
I'm doing great. So excited to be covering this topic, Inclusive Learning 365, and tackling the subject of reading.
Yeah, it's a big one.
This is near and dear to my heart. I can't wait to kind of talk about strategies and, just kind of share some information. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm super excited about this. And, mostly because everyone's doing so well with reading right now, right? I mean, the scores are up across the country that everyone's just reading, or maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. Wait until we get to that particular slide from NAEP. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
It does seem like people need this information more than ever right now.
More than ever. It is such a hot topic. I mean, everybody's talking about the science of reading, and, no matter what, we want our kids to love to read. And so we're hoping that some of these strategies will give people, those of you who are watching, new ideas to implement. So
Yeah.
let's get started.
Practical stuff. Here we go. Okay, so I think we've done this slide before.
Yep. You've got Chris and Karen. I'm, up in Boston and excited to be part of this.
And I'm down here in Virginia. So we've done this before. So let's get into the strategy, shall we? And get into the content.
Let's do it.
Just a quick reminder, we wrote a book together with 2 other authors who are just on the previous slide, and new that just came out at the end of June 2025 are these tips to activate inclusive learning quick win cards, these card deck. Like there's more than 50 cards in there, right, Karen? Or about 50 cards with different questions to ask yourself and reflect on, but then a bunch of different strategies that are really quick wins, which we hope actually is what you find in this video as well, is that the strategies we share are some quick things that you can do to improve reading. Right, so here we go. This is the reading one. Karen, why is reading so important?
Well, we were talking about this, and in putting together this slide presentation, and just thinking about the conversations that are happening nationally, a lot of it is centered on the findings of the National Assessment of Educational Progress. And there are 10 takeaways. And I think the thing that seems so bleak is the scores have not increased. They have, in fact, gone down for 4th and 8th grades. And if you look at, even a third of 8th graders are not even reading at the basic level. We're missing out. And our learners really need to develop that skill, as well as just feel confident as readers and to thrive as readers and just develop a love of reading. So this is why it's such an important topic that we really want to share some strategies that can help promote success and improvement with your learners. So
tell us about what are the components of reading, Karen?
Yes, yeah. So there are 5 basic components of reading, which all came out of the National Reading Panel back in 2000, 2001. And we're going to address several of these during this presentation today. We're looking at phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary and comprehension. All of these, it's not just a simple matter of decoding with success, it's also putting all of these 5 components to synthesize together to really feel successful as a reader.
Let's get practical.
Let's get right into it, Chris. Let's get practical. So one of the things, this to me is such an important point. If I added in The Power of Reading by Stephen Krashen, that book, as well as Read Aside, How Schools Are Killing the Love of Reading and What We Can Do About It by Kelly Gallagher. The Power of Reading is by Stephen Krashen. He's a professor emeritus out in Stanford and has really done a lot of work in reading. And they both talk about how important it is to help our learners self-select topics that they want to read. And so one of the ways that we can promote that is through identifying their interests. And there are a number of different, so the strategy is identifying interests. And Chris, what we always want to stress is it's all about the strategy first, the action word, and then we can come up with some tools that can help promote that particular strategy. And the strategy here to me is identifying interests, because the ultimate goal is to help our learners develop a love of reading. So if we remove the cognitive load and help them identify their interests through these particular types of tools, I think that's a beginning step to help promote success when it comes to developing those reading skills. So there are a few different tools. ReadWorks has an interest inventory. I think that we have the link embedded there, which can, and that particular tool, which I think is so great, is you can even have non-readers successfully complete that different interest inventory, because it offers text to speech and they can also respond using emojis, which is really kind of cool. Some of the other tools, No Red Ink has an extensive interest list that learners can choose from. And then also you can always make your own surveys using Google Forms or Microsoft Forms. So easy to do. You can use what's already available or create your own.
Karen, there's 2 other things I want to say about this. One of the phrases that I heard long ago, I wish I knew where I first heard it, probably, on social media, just a quick phrase, was one of the powers of a teacher or an educator is to help learners find new interests, right? Expose them to things they didn't realize they were interested in yet. I didn't know I love the tuba because I've never seen a tuba or heard someone play it before, right? So teachers can expose kids to new things and have them go, oh, I'm interested in that. And then maybe I want to learn more about it and read more about it. So I think a part of this particular strategy is, yes, identify interests, but then also come back to this. What interests how have your interests grown and changed? And then the second thing I want to say about that, Karen, is that we often hear with students that have been placed in a special ed classroom. Here we are talking about inclusive practices. Yeah, they still like Paw Patrol and Bluey. How come they've never evolved into liking other things? They would just listen to Dora or watch Dora videos all day long, where other kids have moved on to anime or some other thing that they're interested in. And why is that? Well, it's because they're surrounded by people who only see Bluey. They never get, they're not with friends necessarily that have started to experiment with anime or see something from their older brother or sister or other friends. And so because they're in this isolated environment, they never get exposed to these other interests, which is another reason why we'd want to be really intentional about seeing what's going on with peers, and then introducing those interests to everybody, or bring them into the environment as much as possible, if not all the time, so that they're exposed with their friends to new and fresh interests.
Oh, those are such great points to add. I mean, that's, I think, why we started with this particular strategy, because it is so essential. And I think, reducing the cognitive load is important. The exposure to new interests, as you said. And then you also brought up the point of evaluating changes in interests over time. So yeah, great points. Thanks for adding that additional information, Chris. To be honest, I hadn't thought of the one about going back and evaluating how your interests have evolved. That's a cool idea.
One other thing I want to say about interest about while we get into this slide is that I've met so many adults who are dyslexic that will tell you the interests is what's helped them persevere when they were feeling like they couldn't do it, but I'm really interested in this topic, so I'm going to go a little bit, I'm going to put more effort in where otherwise I would have stopped the decoding. So it helps with that, what's the word I'm thinking of, Karen?
Oh,
That drive, that motivation to keep going, you know?
yeah.
I'm a big Dungeons and Dragons player, and I've heard people say, I was really struggling with reading, and I wanted to read the player's manual, and I wanted to be a dungeon master, so I wanted to read those, and so that brings us to this next part, and that is it's with the advent of generative AI, it's become easier than ever to customize passages where you could create a passage that is at someone's reading level or just above, so it's a challenging enough for where they're working on their decoding skills. With their interests in mind. So you could go over to generative AI and say, create a passage at this particular reading level with Pokemon and Minecraft embedded in it. And then people can then be reading about their interest at their reading level. Sound cool?
Yes, definitely. There's so many different ways to use generative AI, and I think reading specialists, this is an area that's been untapped. So great to share this particular strategy.
Yeah, the passages can be customized and personalized to people's interests, and I feel like that's an exciting thing that a lot of that we haven't been able to do easily before.
Definitely. Okay. So again, gamifying phonics instruction. I think back, you talked about people with dyslexia. My son is one of those. He has been identified as dyslexic. He's now an adult and doing he's very successful in a computer field. But he told me when he was in high school, he said when he was getting that explicit, although he didn't use those words, but we know it's called systematic explicit reading instruction. He said the other young boy that was in the group, the third grade group with him, would cry every day. And I mean, how much reading how did his reading skills develop if you're in that stress level all the time? But that's why I think gamifying phonics instruction is another way to really help our learners see that they're so challenged by learning how to decode. Some of these letter sound correspondences make absolutely no sense to them. But if we give them a non-threatening way that they can just learn over and over again and have complete control over and hear the sounds so that they don't always have to guess, plus they're earning badges and awards along the way. What an awesome opportunity. It's a much more rewarding, interactive experience. And so there's some nice options out there. There are others as well. I did spend some time trying to come up with what I felt were the best in terms of, which tools. I think Duolingo, ABC, and GraphoGame is a new one to me that I think is definitely worth exploring. Have you tried either one of these, Chris?
I know them a little bit, but I love the idea of focusing on that strategy even more because you could make your own game if you don't have access to these, right? And you can invite kids to make their own games around these and sort of level up, if you will. And I think a lot of kids are used to this from playing video games where they have made some accomplishment, they get some reward, but that reward is quantitative in some way, and that's what these tools also do. Is they give you sort of a that impetus to keep going because you have a number, and I want to beat that number next time.
Yeah. And again, that's the success of video games. I mean, we always talk about when a child reaches, an obstacle or they've failed, you know, what do? Do they ever give up? No, they keep trying to succeed to get to the next level. And that's what we're hoping gamifying phonics instruction will do as well. So the next one, this goes along with your idea, Chris, of using generative AI to help create customized phrases that, I mean, because these fluency triangles are a very popular method to improve fluency, and it's adapted from the Florida Center for Reading Research, which is very well respected resource when you're working to come up with strategies and how to meet the needs of those who are emerging readers. And you can use generative AI, like one of the things you'll see create a 10-word sentence at a third grade level about dinosaurs. And then you start, but my sample on the right was, many of our learners are excited about Minecraft. So create something using a 10-word sentence about Minecraft. And then you get one sentence, one word at a time, and then you add one more at each level. And this is one of the ways to work on improving that particular skill of building fluency. And so again, customizing it, making it about, things that will be motivating. I have to say, Chris, I have listened to kids being evaluated for their oral reading fluency, and it is painful to hear. And I am always reminded of something Mel Levine said. Unfortunately, he has since disgraced, but he always said kids go through their school day trying to avoid humiliation. And when we use, traditional methods, this is not tapping into, ways that can be successful for our kids. And we really want to think in new ways of how we can help our learners develop those reading skills.
Now, this particular webinar is all about reading, but we can't help ourselves from drifting in and out of other domains. And so this strategy also reminds me, Karen, of writing. Imagine a small group experience or just two kids or even one where the educator is saying, okay, well, here's the first word. Now let's come up with the next word. And then what's the next word? And you can build on this by writing as well. So I see a nice, integration with reading and writing for this one.
Yep. It's a literacy skill. Absolutely. So the next one, this is one we shout from the rooftops, right, Chris?
Absolutely.
The strategy is listening to text, making available those read aloud features that can really support and accommodate for the reading challenges that some of our learners have. And the sample on the left where it says listening to text using text to speech can be a game changer. That also shows the dual color highlighting that can be built into some of these features, because again, it helps kids focus their, visually track, and it accommodates again, because some of our kids have visual tracking issues, but this bypasses and accommodates for the, as learners are developing their decoding skills. So, and one of the points on the right, you can set it for speed, but sometimes just setting it to be in a silent mode and then helping our learners visually track at a particular speed, and then they can adjust that speed over time. So this particular strategy of listening to text is really crucial for many, and it really can be a game changer for many kids. I'm surprised by the high school level how many kids I work with who have never been exposed to this particular strategy. What do you think?
Kieran, I have a couple things to say here. So the first, what you just said, when I show parents the speak selection in iOS, like, oh, I have an iPhone, and I show that, this is the number one thing that has made most parents cry. Like, wait, this has been here all along, and my child in high school who has a phone could be using this, and they start to well up, right? So yeah, it's a shame that more people don't know about it fast enough, which is why we shout it from the rooftops. But then within that, I want to say there's two other small things I want to make sure we comment on. One way a teacher could use this, or I guess a learner could use this, is I try to decode a word with my eye, and then I hit a play button to confirm it, right? Oh yeah, that is the word, right? Yes, I got it right. Or oh no, that doesn't sound the right. And most of the time, depending on the text to speech you're using is going to be right. I mean, there's some proper nouns like my last name, it might not always get right, but the words that we're practicing in early decoding, it's going to get the vast majority of those right? So it's a way to confirm. And then the second thing, I'll be really curious, Karen, if your son did this, or because Beth, if she was here, she'd tell the story about how her daughter often, with longer passages, would open up a book, a paper-based book, and start reading with her eyes while listening to it with her ears. So she's sort of reading along, using multiple modalities at the same time. Is that something your son has done?
Yeah, he actually way preferred digital format. He books, reading books. In fact, I honestly don't think I've ever seen him handle a book.
Paper-based book, you mean?
A paper-based book, right? I mean, he's good with the visual directions, and he'll watch YouTube videos all the time with closed captioning. But again, the point is, again, right, Chris, that we want to show learners these options, and then they develop the tools that work best for them based on what it is they want to be able to do. It's all about giving them, the strategies and the options, and then they develop their own, what works for them.
All right, if you have text that is accessible, then it can also be translated. So here's a place we're showing on the screen here. This is Immersive Reader, and it has a feature that allows you to click a button and choose a language, and it'll translate that into a different. This is just one tool that'll do it. But translating text is super important because how many kids are multi-language learners? They're learning a different language, and then this can help support their learning. And then also, just going back, listening into with the first language or whatever the language is, they can listen to it in that language as well. So those two sort of go hand in hand in my experience. What's your thought, Karen?
Definitely, and this translating text. This is something I recently experienced because I was in Thailand last week, and so being able to show that the whole idea of making text accessible, this was important because some of the learners that I worked with reading issues needed to be able to translate into Thai. And so showing this particular resource was really helpful because again, that tech combined with the text to speech, the ability to translate the text, helped some of these learners be successful as they're developing their decoding skills in both languages.
All right, this is a fun one. So, working mostly on fluency and decoding, there's a tool we want to share called Reading Coach. And for this particular one, I'm going to jump out of the slide deck and show you Reading Coach. So let me hit escape real quick. I have it pulled up here. And so the idea here, when you're in Reading Coach, this is a tool created by Microsoft, is that, again, pulling back to the very first strategy we talked about identifying interests, here learners can choose a character. So Karen, what character are we doing?
Oh dear. Why don't we be the bear?
A bear. Okay. No, now notice these are grayed out. There's a reason for that, but the reason is it's sort of like a video game. You unlock things as you progress, right? So, okay, we're going to start with a bear. Now, choose a setting, Karen. Where are we going?
Oh, let's
Where's this
go
bear?
on the island.
The bear on the island. Okay. And then don't get hung up on what this really means. Just pick a reading level.
Let's do, yeah, because it doesn't correlate with Lexile levels at all. Let's do level 4.
Level 4. Okay. And then it says, so a bear on an island, there's this, I'm going to hit create story, and it generates a story for us. I'm going to say allow on my microphone so that you can hear this. Okay. It says ready to read aloud. And if my settings are all right, I'm going to start it. So here we go. I'm going to hit start reading. It opens it up in Immersive Reader here, and I'm going to read it. 3, 2, 1. On a big island far, far away, there lived a brave little bear named Bola. Bella. Bella was a Bella was um, courteous and and adventurous, kind bear, always eager to discover new things. She lived with her family. Now I could go on stuff because you get the idea. We invite kids to read this out loud. It's listening and it is looking at their scores. So here you can choose what happens in the next chapter. Done reading. I'm not going to choose that right now. I'm going to hit see results. So here you can see that we can go on and listen to the next chapter or read the next chapter. It gives you pronunciation accuracy, how long we read. It tells you how many minutes to go to win your next award. And then it tells you here are some words that you might want to practice. Like notice how it called out island when I said island and sort of recognized that I was struggling with what to read the word curious. Then here down at the end, keep reading brings you to the next chapter, if you will. And here, practice words allows you to bring up these individual
These
words.
were the most challenging for you. Select any word to tackle them again.
And so I'm going to hit bear.
Ready, press the microphone and read the word out loud.
And then I can practice it again. And it gives me some options here. Well, bear is a one syllable, but if it had multiple syllables, I could hit that and it would show me the syllables. So this is a really fun tool. Karen, have you experimented with this tool? Have you, what are your thoughts?
I have, and I often recommend it because of I mean, it's got gamification, it's got customizability,
Next step,
it's
practice. Select any word to keep building your skills.
And the other thing too is it allows a learner to work on their fluency skills, their decoding skills in, on their own, and it tracks for them. So they, again, they're not sitting next to a teacher who is recording every single word and pronunciation, but they're working to develop the skills on their own, and they can practice multiple times. And I've seen, I have recommended it a lot, to be honest. I haven't seen what has resulted from that because, again, it does require people to implement it. I don't know, Chris, are you seeing that there's been follow through with the educators with whom you've shared this
Well, it's
offering?
funny. It's funny you say that because, like you said, it seems to be that when I show this more to families and parents, and then they're doing it at home. What I just showed you is free. I didn't pay for this, so families are
Right.
doing it at home, and again, kids would then practice at home. It's really where I've seen it to be used most usefully is when people are doing it on their own. Like you said, no one's feeling intimidated or pressure because someone's around them, and where someone might feel judged by their reading ability. You're just practicing on your own, and the AI is giving you the feedback.
And the pronunciation accuracy, there's your target. Okay, I only got 14% that time. I want to aim for higher. And so you do see that motivation and that drive to continue to improve against yourself, this is an awesome tool.
All right.
So glad that you showed it.
Okay, this last one is super fun and it's really sort of new. The strategy's not new, but the technology has been updated with generative AI to make it easier. So you've been able to do a version of this in WordArt in Microsoft Word, where you generate a word and then you embed an image within the bubble text of the word. And so now with Google Labs or Adobe Firefly, there is this feature where you can say, okay, I want to, give me a vocabulary word, Karen.
Oh my goodness. How about transition?
Transitions from place to place. Right. Okay. And so if
Or
you
you probably want more of a noun?
it could be more of a noun, but
Let's go.
even transitions, I could see like someone running or moving or transportation, But yeah, when you're teaching a vocabulary word, the idea here is that it will fill in a word with an image or images that represent that word. And so you could be working with side by side with a student. You could ask them, well, here's the word. What are some images that come to your mind? Or if you're preparing ahead of time for learners, you could do it, you know? So like in the pictures here, you see reading and you type in the box, fill with books, fill with digital textbooks. It doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be paper-based. Or you can see in the other one, the word ferrets, right? Oh, okay. And so that it makes letters out of ferrets. Super fun, super engaging. And it, again, crosses those modalities that you're saying without changing the integrity of the word.
And I could even see it being used at a lower level. I mean, at a real beginning level, learning the alphabetic principle, you know, like just seeing all of these letters with different images embedded in them, and that could be another way to learn the alphabet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, and the last one that I think we're going to talk about today, Karen, is audio stories. So it's so interesting. If you got into a room of like 100 educators, I was just presenting yesterday, and we talked about reading strategies, nobody really, and I asked, so what are some strategies you use? Almost nobody says it. Nobody says, oh, we listen to podcasts or we listen to audiobooks. And this is why we put this in this particular webinar, is because listening to stories helps with comprehension, it helps with vocabulary, it helps build background knowledge, it helps in so many ways. So something we would invite you to think about is, if you're a parent or a teacher, if you're a teacher or an educator, invite parents to do this, that on one day a week or when you're in the car together, let's listen to audio stories together as opposed to listening to music in this particular case. You know, just music is great, all that's great too, but what about listening to audio stories? And there's so many places you can get free audio stories. Your public library has audiobooks that you can get for free. Your school library, I guarantee, has some audio stories. And then there's so many free podcasts with stories that, again, you could be looking for students' interests, you know, tie it to all from different cultures, from different backgrounds, from different things, again, exposing people to something new that they haven't learned about before. It could be an audio story that is cross-curricular. So, hey, let's listen to a story about science or a story about some sort of historical event, right? So many different ways to use audio stories to help build literacy skills.
And Chris, what's exciting to me is I'm finding more and more high school learners are advocating for themselves and they're resourceful. And they are finding when a novel is assigned to them, they are looking for that audio format on their own.
Mhm.
And a lot of times they're, you know what their first tool to explore is? Their first tool of choice?
YouTube?
Absolutely. They always go to YouTube first, and they very often can find an audio version of the book, and they'll follow along with the hard copy. But I'm really impressed with how resourceful they are, because you know they're learning that this is something that works well for them, and which is really great. Now, Chris, believe it or not, we absolutely do have time for that hidden feature strategy that we were debating about. So we have time to we can't hold back. We've got to show them
All right, this one, we
strategy.
weren't sure we are going to have time. This one, is this what you're talking about?
Yeah, we've got it. Yeah,
All right,
definitely.
just before the webinar started, we said, oh, I don't know if we're going to have time to talk about this, but you're saying we do? Fantastic.
We do.
So this strategy is creating music or songs, create a bop that slaps, right? Which is actually right out of one of the quick win cards that we put. And so there's different tools that you can do this, but music helps people learn all sorts of different things, right? All sorts of different content, but it can be help you learn words, help you learn strategies, help you learn just anything. In this case, we're going to talk about how it can help you learn different words and vocabulary. And so this particular tool is called Suno.com. I didn't have it pulled up because I didn't think we were going to have time, but let me just go there, Suno.com, and log in real quick. Hey everyone, when Karen and I were recording the webinar, Suno wouldn't load. So I'm jumping in with this little splice where I've come back and I'm going to show you Suno specifically, give you some examples, and then we'll go right back to the webinar. So you'll notice here that I'm logged in at suno.com/me, but if you go to suno.com, you can create an account. It's like any other tool where it's got a freemium model where you get a bunch of stuff for free, but then you can pay for more. Right over here on the left, you can see there's a create button and a library button. Well, we're currently on the library button, which shows you some of the songs that I have made. So when you scroll through here, you can see some of the songs that I've made, but I'm going to go over here to the second tab and specifically show you the turning song. So this is an example of a song that I created by clicking the create button, telling it that I would like it to create a song in the style of country to explicitly teach the word turn, using the word turn in a bunch of different ways. So let's see how it did.
Every morning down at school, the teacher ain't no fool. She sings a little ditty about all the ways to turn. She says, turn left, turn right, turn around, turn it tight. So many ways to use this word we've got to learn. Turn the page, turn the wheel, turn the key. Make turning is a way of life. It's how we navigate, whether you're turning in.
All right, you get the idea. So here, explicitly trying to teach the word turn and what it means, and by using a simple prompt where I ask it to use turn in a bunch of different ways in the style of country, it created this audio file, which then I can hit the share button here, or these three little dots, and hit download, and I can save it as an MP3, as you can see here. It can generate a video to a WAV file, but you can see that's the pro version for the WAV file. So you can download the MP3, then you can put it into a student's Google Drive or OneDrive or however you want to share it with them, and then they can listen, or you can embed it into some other program. It's just like any other audio clip. Now, one real quick story I got to tell. My wife is an assistant principal, and when we were getting ready for work one day, she got a text message that said, "Oh no, one of my students is in the emergency room." It's like, "What do you mean? What happened?" And she said, "Parents said he was complaining of an earache last night, took him to the emergency room, and they found a piece of rubber that he stuck in his ear from the playground." And she said, "You know, we've been trying to watch and make sure it doesn't happen." And she's like, "So, you know, we got to teach him not to put stuff in his ear." And so she went off to work, and by the time she got to work, the following was in her inbox. So I went over to Suno and I made this song.
Hey little buddy, listen here. Don't stick stuff in your ear. It's not a pocket, it's not a drawer. Your ears deserve so much more. Parents smile when ears are clear. Teachers cheer when nothing's near. Doctors say it's music to hear. Clean ears bring joy far and near.
So I'll stop it there. I hope you enjoyed that song as much as we did. It cracked her up when she got it. The students love it. She gave it to her teachers, and then she's just telling me the other day how weeks later she'll be walking by the room, and all of a sudden everyone will break out into song and say something like, "It's not a pocket, it's not a drawer," and everyone starts laughing. So it's a great way to create fun songs in whatever style you'd like. I'll give you one more since I'm here. I had to teach a new law in Virginia about AAC, Augmentative Alternative Communication, and so if you have to teach about anything for professional learning, any sort of concept, you can make some song to go with it. So here's the one that I made. I'll just listen to a second of it.
A school division shall document on the individualized education program of a student with a disability who needs or uses AAC, beginning prior to the provision of instruction or direct
to the student, including in any extended school year period.
So you get the idea here is you can take some dry, boring, hard to get through law and make it more fun to listen to for whoever you're doing your professional learning for. So yes, use it for reading, use it for vocabulary, use it to build people's background knowledge, and use it for all sorts of other things as well. All right, back to the webinar. Works. One word of warning with Suno. This is for educators to use to create songs to give to kids after the fact. There's definitely some stuff that you wouldn't want students necessarily to see. Most schools, it's going to be blocked. You might have to do it at home, but there is a download feature that you can then take the audio that it has created and you can put it in your Google Drive or your OneDrive. You can give it to students that way. But we wouldn't pull this up in front of kids because sometimes there's some I've had that moment, Karen, where I've pulled it up in a presentation and been like,
oh dear. That is, yeah, unfortunately, too bad that they don't have an education version because this really is an excellent instructional tool option. Yeah,
there are some generative AI tools, Karen, that will do it, that will make lyrics, and then you can sing along. But this is the one that I know of that'll actually make the song, you know, that has
in seconds. It's too bad that it was a little glitchy and we couldn't show it in the moment.
Yeah.
But explore it for yourself.
All right, what comes next, Karen?
Yeah, so that's our challenge to you, the listener, the audience. What are your next steps? Where will you go with this information? Are you thinking in new ways? One of the things, Chris, that we always talk about is the acronym TWADI. That's the way we've always done it. And we encourage you to think about that. Did that ever work for any learner? And is it reaching any learner now? Because of, there's so many different options that can really take your instructional methods to a whole new level and really empower, because we talk about the importance of empowering our learners. And in fact, these are some of the points that we talked about. If you haven't watched the first webinar in our series, Inclusive Mindset, we do encourage you to go back and watch that particular webinar at this time. But let's talk next steps. Reflect. We always encourage viewers, participants, when we're in offering professional learning opportunities, we always encourage reflection. And Chris, you and I, we always reflect too. What are we doing? How can we improve? What worked? What didn't work? And we just encourage you and invite you to ask yourself, what can I stop doing? And what can I start doing instead? We invite you to reflect on those questions. And we hope that we've given you some new ideas and new strategies for how to view reading instruction, just how you can incorporate some new ideas and new strategies and add them to your own repertoire and your own toolbox. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's so interesting because you tie TWADI, this is the way I've always done it, to what can I stop doing? I'm really reflecting on, why am I doing that practice? And why did I think it's effective? What evidence do I have that suggests that it's effective? And thinking back to the first inclusive mindset, whatever I'm doing, am I really inviting everyone to participate, or is someone being left out?
Right. We always have to ask. And again, when we're thinking about the reading strategies that we're currently using, who is excluded, who is left out? So those are some of we invite you to ask yourself some of those reflection questions and even take some of those questions back to your colleagues during, any time that you can collaborate, which is a perfect segue into how can you promote inclusive learning in your learning environment. So one of the things that we really encourage you to and invite you to do is support those collaborative opportunities. Are there times when the general educators and the special educators have time to design together? This is something that is really an essential point when we think about designing effective, inclusive instruction. And so is that a priority in your building? Is there some way that you can facilitate that where you work? And also, if you're participating and viewing this particular webinar, you are participating in professional learning opportunities about inclusive practices. And we encourage you to take this information and start designing some of those opportunities where you are a current educator. It's really a call to action. It takes all of us working together to change mindsets and to really make a difference and reimagine what education could look like so that no learner is left out.
Well said. So this is one of the videos, one of the webinars that we've recorded in the series of 9, right? So the idea here is that you could go in any order and jump around. We do invite you to make sure that you're listening to the inclusive mindset first. So if this is your first video and you haven't gone back and watched the inclusive mindset, we invite you to, that would be the next one. But then from there, enjoy whatever catches your interest.
Chris, thanks so much. This has been it's been great bantering with you and talking about one of our favorite topics, aren't they all? Inclusive design in general is just such a passion of ours. And we look forward to seeing you the next time.
Thanks, Karen. See you later.
Thanks, Chris. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us. Are you a New Jersey educator looking for support or professional development tailored to your district's AT needs? We offer free, customized training and coaching for NJ teachers, paraprofessionals, and families. From hands-on workshops to individual classroom support and small group facilitation, we're here to help. Visit us at atcenter.tcnj.edu to learn more. Have a question? Contact us at atcenter@tcnj.edu. Please like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more content on all things assistive technology.